First, I want to thank Daryl and Holly for talking up the NAD. I won't have too much to add to that other than saying the millions of edits that Google was able to make from only 61 million address points, which is the current version of the NAD. I still don't think we've got half of the address points in the country. So just imagine how much more edits Google could make in the future. So next slide, please. Before I get into the visualization tool, I promised you in the roll call yesterday a quick update on the NAD. Last March, we awarded the latest contract for NAD development. And if you recall, that was after a 9-month shutdown to recompete the contract. Ironically, the contract kicked off about the time I started working from home because that's when the pandemic really kicked off. Also, ironically, since then, we've had our longest continuous stretch of NAD development. Prior to March 2020, we had only managed 3 releases of the NAD. Over the last 18 months, we've published 4 releases and managed to stick to pretty much a quarterly release of the data. You see here the releases that came out over this last period and how the number of records has grown each one. Next slide, please. So this is our latest partners map. In the partners map, any state that has submitted data is 100% green, even if it's only a partial submission so far. You can see here we still have states that, well, you can see here that we no longer have any states that we're unsure of. We know that they either don't have an address program or that they have address points that aren't yet in the public domain. So my challenge to this group is to continue to try to turn this map 100% green. Next slide, please. Here is where we've actually had data submitted. You see some of our partners are just getting started with providing data for their states. Next slide, please. So this is the latest status map that my team started producing, and it shows the age of the data in the National Address Database. I've been hearing some whispers or some gripes from the geo community that maybe the NAD wasn't as up to date as it should be. And I produced this map just to try to quell those concerns. And you can see that the large majority of the state partner data is less than 6 months old in this current version of the NAD. Yes, there are some reds and oranges that I would like to be green, but those states all have their reasons for being unable to provide updates, and I continue to work with them to try to get updates. Next, please. So here's, don't click yet, I want to give a little background. For years, I've been interested in providing NAD stakeholders a visualization tool and different ways to access the data. But I really haven't had the resources or the bandwidth to do anything. I do have a small team at USDOT, but we are tasked primarily with enterprise geospatial governance and management at the department. So I really don't have a developer or even an analyst on my staff right now. So the best that we've ever been able to produce for the NAD is a bulk download. We've tried producing web feature services, web map services, even web tile services. And as you can imagine, with 61 million points now, once you zoom out past, say, the city level, it's just not going to perform. So we were stuck with just that bulk download. But that all changed a few months ago at the last meeting of the National Geospatial Advisory Committee. I was listening in, and Pat Cummins from Esri made a presentation about a new public-private partnership that Esri had stood up, and they call it the Open Access NGDA Partnership. Before Pat had even finished her comments in that NGAC meeting, I had sent an email to her asking for help with the NAD. And she very quickly put together an Esri team that consisted of herself, Jill Saligo-Simmel, Sean Breyer, and Adam Martin. And after just a couple of short meetings with my team at DOT, Esri had produced a visualization tool in ArcGIS or ArcGIS Online, and they handed that over to me and my team. We made just a few minor tweaks to it, and we published it in our USDOT Enterprise ArcGIS Online subscription, and that's the link. So if you're feeling adventurous, Emily, do you want to click on that?
Oh, okay. Click. And I'll have to stop sharing for a second so that I can get the right screen up. Okie doke. Here it is. All right, walk me through it.
Okay, so Esri's solution was what I would say simple and elegant. They created a mesh of equal area hexagons or hex bins to cover the United States, and then the hex bins were overlaid with National Address Database. Each bin was then populated with the number of address points in each bin, and we used that to calculate the density, points per square mile. And that's what you see in the legend. The dark green is of course, more than 1,000 address points per square mile, and all the way down to the light green is less than 10 address points per square mile. In order to make it scalable, we actually created 3 different hex bin layers. This one at the national level, each hex bin is 300 square miles. It's transparent to the user, but as you zoom in, it will switch to 170 square mile hex bin, and then as you zoom in further to a 75 square mile hex bin, and then after that you finally get to the web feature service that contains the NAD address points. So we used standard Esri zoom levels for these changes. The 300 square mile hex bins display from the world view down to the state view. The 170 mile hex bins display from state view down to county view. The 75 square mile hex bins display from county view down to the city's view. And then when you zoom in below the cities, the address points finally show up. So Emily, you can pick an area of your choice, and if you continue to zoom in, you will see the National Address Database, which...
Ooh, there it goes.
So these are the actual address points from the National Address Database. If you hover or click, you'll get the National Address Database schema and the attributes. So this is what I hope to be the tip of the iceberg for providing NAD as a service. The next thing I'd like to do, since I do have a concern that even though this might be very intuitive and understandable to this room full of geo people, it might not be quite as understandable to the general public. So I'd like to continue to work with Esri through their public-private partnership, and I hope to put together a story map. The story map will start with what is the NAD, what is an address point. It'll get to the current status and show the maps the status maps that I showed earlier, and then it'll get into how to use this viewer. This is hot off the presses, folks. I have not actually advertised this anywhere. I have sent it to some partners at the Census Bureau and several of my NSGIC address providers, and I've gotten comments back that I will work on implementing. But this is very exciting to me to be able to actually have a tool to show these points, and I think it can be used to better market the NAD to stakeholders and decision makers. After we do the story map, the next thing I would like to do is, again, working with Esri through this partnership, is to stand up an ArcGIS portal where we can expand our offerings for how to download the data. Maybe set up pre-zipped packages for states or regions. And if we can make the tools perform well enough, maybe even get to the point where we can do clip and zip packages. So I'm sorry for the difficulties at the beginning of this. Emily, you did great with the demo, and thanks again to Esri for putting together this partnership. Without their help, we wouldn't be seeing any of this. And if there's time, I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks, Steve. Jill's comment that your enthusiasm is contagious. You've created a buzz in this room, and we love it. So great. Let's go to our online friends and let's have a comment or a question or a hooray or, you know, fire up the marching band, whatever it takes.
And while we're waiting, the link that you have in these slides, so it's access. Anybody who wants to play with it and send me comments, welcome. But we're probably not going to advertise it officially until we put that story map together.
You heard it here first because you came to NSGIC. Yeah, baby. All right. Comments from our virtual friends, real friends who are joining us virtually. All right, hearing none, we're going to go to Mary in the room here. Go ahead.
Hi, Steve. I just want to comment that I think that story map is a great idea. And that's something that we in Pennsylvania, of course, I promise you, you're getting it next year. But that's something that it's a great use of the story map to get that word out. I saw that Leslie posted, she's going to give that to a senator to promote why we should be participating in the NAD, what can come out of it. So good luck and let us know what you need.
Thank you. And full credit, I got the story map idea from 2 different sources. Jill, as part of the Esri partnership, came up with the idea. And Jenna, I think your upcoming president, she sent it as a comment as well. So all very good advice.
Great. And we'll go to Megan for a question.
How about now? There we go. Hi, Steve. Megan from Indiana. This is amazing. It's great to see it. I was curious because we've recently found some interesting holes in the Indiana data that we thought was maybe a little better than it is. And I was curious if you have any interest in comparing what you have for those states that have complete data sets with what Esri has or any other address data set.
I'm always curious, but I really don't have the bandwidth to do those comparisons now.
All right, thanks, Steve. And a big hand for Steve and all the effort there. Appreciate it.
Can I jump in and make a comment?
Say that again, please.
This is Leslie Jones from Alaska. Do you mind if I jump in?
Sure.
Oh,
yep,
thanks.
go for a quick one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is awesome. And just to clarify, I'm advocating for addressing in general because 70% of Alaska does not have physical addressing. I know, gasp. Oh! But yeah, so this is an extremely handy tool. But I've been inspired from Frank, your Lord of life cycle of addressing and the idea of the life cycle of address data and creating a story map for that to really try to communicate to legislature, to senators on why this needs to be funded in Alaska and the importance of it. It's not just at a county level, right? It's at a state level. It's at how it's consumed from the private sector, 911, economic development, like a life cycle story map I'm envisioning. And I'm just wondering, has anybody done this? Because I don't want to reinvent the wheel.
It's a perfect question to follow up on the community, and let's get those ideas flowing to Leslie and keep the stoke going throughout the coming weeks here. So appreciate that.